This is Wake Up and Lead, a daily podcast where ambitious young professionals learn to lead themselves. I'm your host, Hampton Dortch, and today we have got the guy with the coolest hair in the world. Some people may be a little intimidated by it. He's in the middle of 75 hard right now, so we're going to hear a lot about that today. But Mando Sallavanti, welcome back to the show.
Hampton, my man, happy to be here. Really excited to chat again and appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, by the time this comes out, you may be done unless you quit, but I know you're not going to quit. Tell me about 75 hard. How's it going?
75 hard's amazing. I did this back in 2021. I was in Mexico over the new year for a friend's wedding, and 2 days before I came back, I texted my best friend Jarrett, and I was just like, dude, let's do it again. He's like, I'm in. As soon as he told me that, I knew we were starting it. And you know what, man? Today's day 8. The biggest revelation I've had, and this was probably number one from the first time, you just don't realize how much time is in the day until you do. Like, everything's blocked in my calendar. Read then. Workout number 1 here. Outside workout here. And I'm as busy in my business right now as I've ever been. And I'm getting all this done and spending time with my fiance every single day. I'm like, man, if I could do this, like, who's stopping me? And I'm not competing with other people necessarily. I'm competing against being a better version of me. But from a motivational standpoint, it's like, if I could do this, nobody's doing this, man. So what else can I do, right? So I'm fired up, man. I'm fired up. Yeah, we're starting hot today. We're starting hot today.
Dude, you are fired up. Have you? Because I look back on my life in college. I mean, I did some cool things in college, but I wasn't blocking my calendar and this and that. And I know you played football at a high level, and so maybe you had to. But like, have you always been pretty dialed in when it comes to like your schedule and working out and stuff like that?
It started with football flat out. Like, you hit the nail on the head. I was forced to with football. They just did it for us. So I can remember in the spring, for example, okay, 5 a.m. lifting group, 6 a.m. lifting group. And every week it rotated on which group you were in just based on the players on the team. Then you had your classes. Those are obviously time blocked for you. We had film that was time blocked. We had another meeting that would be time blocked. And then it was like, all right, the rest of my day is pretty much schoolwork, study from spring practice, or hang out with my friends afterwards, which is like personal time, quote unquote. So my day was pretty much time blocked until 7 at night for every day in the spring. And then in season, it was even more than that, probably till 9 o'clock at night in season. And it just came natural. So when I got into my career, it was natural to time block. I actually got away from it, but my mentor, best thing he ever said to me, he's like, man, your success is going to be correlated to how meticulous you are with your calendar. You need to live off of it. I didn't really understand what he was telling me then, but 4 years later into my career, it's like, I'm so grateful for that because it's made a huge difference.
Yeah, he was right for sure. And I guess you were kind of forced to it with playing football. You kind of had to follow along with that schedule. So everybody knows now I've shifted. We're talking about these different F's. So like faith, family, fitness, fellowship, and future. We're kind of in the fitness realm right now. I know a handful of guys who played football and were in amazing shape in college, but then when they finish up, they're pretty burnt out. And so maybe they hang it up for a little while. Did you ever, I know you had an injury, but did you ever kind of have like a break with fitness? Like, oh, I'm so burnt out, or have you just been a unit ever since you stopped?
Well, I don't want to put it that way, but when I had my shoulder injury, this was 2019. That was also my last year playing football. I definitely got like skinny, which I was never a skinny guy. I was always like a little bit more brolic, but I got skinny. And then it was like, okay, let me gain the weight back. And I've maintained it, man. Like, I've just always been in the gym. I work out to look good. I work out to be healthy, but honestly, I work out because I love to do it, and the mental part of it is just so big. Back to what I said when we first kicked this off, I think there's something to be said about the person that wakes up at 5 a.m., goes to the gym, pounds the weights for 45 minutes, goes home, and then goes to work. Most people aren't doing that. Now, a lot of people are doing that. And if you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to bet that you probably do that. But you doing that sets you apart from other people in your life. Think about the average person. They're not doing that. So what can you do above that person? And we're not necessarily competing with other people, but at the end of the day, we kind of are.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like you don't want to be looking around at everyone and trying to squash them, but like you're right. I mean, at some level, you are. I mean, you're an advisor. There's a million of those. Why would I pick Mando? You know. And we'll get into that. I'll let you sell yourself here in a little bit. His LinkedIn sells himself, but I will say I know you're a pretty driven and self
Yeah.
motivated guy. But at some level, I imagine you have some folks, some friends. You mentioned your friend you're doing 75 hard with that make you better, you know? And so I guess from like a fellowship standpoint, what does that look like for you? Do you have people in your life that kind of are holding you accountable and pushing you to that next level?
There's a couple different groups I would say that I reside in that make me better. So my best friend Jarrett, like we were just talking about this, and he's one of the people doing 75 hard with me. Me and Jarrett have always pushed each other. We played football in college together. We played football in high school together. Me and him were always captains on teams we played with, and we were just ambitious. And um, like it's one of those things, a rising tide lifts all ships. And when he's doing good, it makes me want to do good. And I'm happy when he does good and vice versa. And I think that's why we feed off each other so well. If I get success in my career, Jarrett doesn't start resenting that and Jarrett doesn't distance himself. He actually gets closer to me, lifts me up, helps me, and I do the same thing for him. So first and foremost, like shout out to Jared. I hope you're listening to this, bro. I'm going to send you the episode and not to get all sappy on you here, but you already know what it is. So he's the first person. And then also our boy Matt, he's also doing 75 hard with us. And Matt was a guy we played football in high school and college with as well from the same town. And same thing, man. It's just like you do things that make your life better with people who want to do those same things. Those people make your life better.
Mm, I love that. My favorite thing you said about Jarrett, shout out to you, Jarrett, and you too, Matt, is I would say, a good friend might comfort you in the middle of a hard time, when you hurt your shoulder, like, oh, Mondo, I'm sorry, man. But a lot of times it's like, it's pretty easy to comfort people during hard times because there's nothing to be threatened by. But when they have success, when they maybe even have something that like you might want and you still choose to celebrate them, that's how you know you've got like a real friend. So would you say like with you and Jared, maybe a few other people, it seems like it seems like the type of guys that if you have something awesome happen in your life, you can go to them and share it without feeling like you're
Dude,
bragging.
spot on. And with him, another example of our relationship. So, like, I'm a financial planner, he's a realtor. So, we're in complementary businesses, which is also really cool because I refer people, he refers people. But he's a client of mine, I'm a client of his too. And we closed on our house December 20th, and I knew his goals for 2023. Us buying our house set him over his 2023 goal.
Let's
And
go.
like that was my favorite part of buying the house. Like, sure, me and my fiance have this house and it's nice and we love it. But my favorite part was like, dude, you hit your goal. You know what I mean? So like that just shows a little bit about the relationship that we have.
Oh man, that's super cool. I love that you're able to do that. So future is one of the ones that I talk about a lot here, and I feel like you could talk about that from multiple different angles because a lot of folks listening to this are young in their careers, and I say this is for ambitious young professionals that want to learn to lead themselves. And so part of what I'm trying to get people to do is really think about the future. What direction are you heading with your life? And so why don't you just start by speaking to that from like what you do day to day? You're probably talking to people about their futures all the time.
Yeah, I mean, with financial planning, it's really simple what I do in terms of the base level or the 30,000 foot view, I should even say. People say, Mondo, you're a financial advisor. What does that mean? What do you do? Well, me and you, Hampton, we have a current reality. It's the life that we're living today. We also have this desired reality that's up here. And how I'm articulating this, a coach of mine, Simon, who I'm working with now as well, I've worked with him multiple times in my career. This is how he articulates it, and I stole it because he's smarter than me and he knows I stole it. So shout out to Simon. But between this current reality and this desired reality up here, there's this gap we need to bridge. How do we bridge that gap? Figuring that out through your finances is what I look at with my clients and what I help them with. Part of the picture that's typically difficult is articulating what this future reality or desired reality is, because a lot of people are so bogged down in the day to day and the challenges they face now that they don't even think about that because they can't be bothered. So, what I'm doing in my day to day is helping people articulate what that vision is, than understanding where they are today so we could bridge the gap between the two.
I love it. I mean, it's simple. Well, it's not a simple thing to do, but like you don't have to butter up what you do. Like it's very simple and understandable. And I would say, well, then I think I might know the answer to this, but well, Mando, if it's that simple, then like what's the point of reaching out to you and using your services, huh?
Bridging the gap is where it gets difficult, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's a saying that I love: clarity precedes success. Like we have to have clarity before we could be successful. But the reason we need clarity is because clarity is going to put us in a position that we could actually take action. So once we have clarity and once everything is in front of us, it then becomes a game of like, how do we create a strategy that's going to take these goals? Because this desired reality isn't going to be one thing. For everybody, it's probably going to be 3 to 5 things that are big themes in it that we're looking at. So with money, a big mistake, and I won't even call it a mistake, but something that I see over and over that is detrimental to people. They see something online that might be a good decision. Their friend tells them about something that might be a good decision. They see a TikTok and it looks like it's promising, and that might be a good decision. So they implement these things and they have this here, that here, that here. They did this. But at the end of the day, there's no cohesiveness. There's no real strategy that's working together. So you have things running in different directions, if you will. What we're trying to do once we gain that clarity is get everything working together as one strategy towards the same desired reality so we can hit these 3 to 5 goals, but not leave any waste on the table.
That's good. Yeah, there's so much noise online, so many TikToks that people see, and it might be, one thing here or there might be good, but like if you don't have a strategy, it doesn't work. Like for example, I know people who they come to me about like fitness or nutrition advice, and like it's frustrating when someone will come to you and say like an example I might think of is, hey, is this banana, like, can I eat this? Or like when it's just like one thing, it's like, oh yeah, what do you think about eating that? And it's like, well, I can tell you if it's like generally healthy or not, but it just depends on like, what are your goals? Are you trying to gain or lose weight? Have you had enough protein? Like there's just so many factors that
Yep.
go into it. Classic meathead here, bringing it back to fitness, but that's probably the only way that probably the only example I have of something like that. But I also imagine there's probably some level of time you're saving people and accountability you're providing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think the accountability is the number one reason most people come to us, and the time saving. Because at the end of the day, managing your finances is a full-time job. Make no mistake. Just like real estate investing. I use this example all the time. Like I have a rental property. I have 4 units I own. That's not really a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it's another full-time job. And I have a property management company, but it's still a full-time job. I have to give real time to manage that property, even with a company that I pay to manage it. Your money is no different. You have to do the research. You have to figure out how that research sticks together and if it's credible and what works for you at the same time. Because you could go Google information and do research on whatever you want. You can't Google how it applies to you. You can't Google how it's going to implement for you. You can't Google what it's going to yield for you. That's the type of stuff that we're doing as professionals in financial planning.
Fire me up, dude. I remember the last time I had you on here, you said you pay for things in one of two ways. Can you tell us about that? It's a good
Time
one.
or money, man. It's always
Yep.
time or money. And like this was something I just mentioned Simon before. This is something that I learned from him. You always pay for things in one of two ways. And it's somewhat of a it's what's the word I want to put on it? It's just right. I can't think of the word I want, but it's just right that it came from him
Yeah.
because he was the first coach that I ever worked with. I never hired a coach before I worked with him. I'd been in my first year of business. I just made a little bit of money, so I had extra cash, and I'm like, well, people say it's good to invest in yourself. And I wasn't going to hire Simon, and I remember he said this to me. He's like, look, dude, people pay for things in one of two ways. You can pay in time and learn the mistakes yourself, and that might be 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, it might be forever. I don't know. Or you could pay me. And if you pay me, I can promise you that the struggles you're having, the mistakes you're making, we're going to solve those. We're going to do more than solve those, and you're going to see success from it. And sure enough, that's what happened. And ever since that engagement with him, I've always sought out different mentors whether it was direct access one-on-one or courses or information that I could buy into or circles that I could buy into for access to people or information that could make my journey a little bit better by trading some money.
Dude, that's one of my favorite things about you. I feel like there's there's an older generation, like people my parents' age, that it's like, oh my gosh, like why would I pay someone to mow my lawn? Like that's it's so un-American to do that. Like and I get it. Like there's different times where people have, different financial scenarios and everything. But for somebody our age, I really don't know somebody that has paid a coach, someone to do graphic design for them, someone to do like social media. Like, why don't you walk through some of the like coaches or consultants or groups that you've been a part of, just to give people a reality? Because for someone that's 25, 26, like I don't think that people understand like what you're doing. And it's not that, oh, Mando just has all the money in the world and can spend it. I imagine it's either buying you more time or eventually making you more money, which is why you're actually doing it.
Most of these are buying me more money, quite frankly, because I'm investing in specific things that are bringing me specific skills that are then helping me grow my business. So, first coach, I'm going to go chronologically, talk about all of them briefly of why I did it. First coach I hired was Simon. This was in 2021. He's a financial advisor specific coach. Basically, help you grow your business, get the roadblocks out of your way. Pretty straightforward. Business coach specific to me, so I hired him. Second time I decided to invest in myself was later that year. I hired a marketing agency to help me do marketing for my business. Let's actually do this too. Let's talk about numbers because I'm transparent. I'll do it. I paid Simon $4,500. It was a 6-week engagement. So not a small investment by any means.
Yeah.
This marketing agency later in the year, I invested $4,000 for 3 months. They were horrible. I pretty much made nothing from it, but I did learn from it. So I'm not writing it off, and I'm glad I had that, because what that did was motivate me to then say, I need to learn marketing. I can't pay someone else. If I don't know what I'm doing at a base level, I can't get out of marketing what I need to. So fast forward into the summer of 22, I hire Justin Welsh to do consulting. That was $850 for an hour consult. That was pretty much the start of my LinkedIn journey. And that was in August of 22, but I took his course in July and got started. So July of 22, I started on LinkedIn. Keep going from there. October of 22, I hire, she calls herself an EQ based coach, like a life coach / business coach, but she calls herself an EQ based coach. Her name is Alia Rahman. Alia was $2,200 for 7 calls, I believe it was, or 6 calls off the bat. And now I pay her on a $400 per call basis. I do still work with her ongoing. It's been a year and a half, and I probably will for my entire life. After Alia, I hired Nasheen Chen. That was, I believe, a total of, I want to say, $6,000 or $4,000. I forget exactly off the top of my head, but me and Nasheen worked together ongoing for about 6 months. And the purpose of working with her was public speaking. So becoming a better speaker. I always felt like I was strong, but working with Nasheen, I just felt like it took me to another level. After Nasheen, I hired Jacob Sukow. Or Sukow. Sorry, Jacob. I don't want to murder your name right now. That was about $5,000. Paid him to build out landing pages, a lead magnet, and a website for me so I could start an email newsletter. After Jacob, I had worked with Nat Berman. Nat was 6 months, or not 6 months, $6,000 for 3 months. That was primarily focused on business and branding. So building out my LinkedIn, dialing that in, dialing in my business. And now getting back with Simon, we're going to have an ongoing engagement. We're looking at a long-term thing. I'm at a point in my business, I think there's a lot of opportunity. I'm trying to harness it. I think he knows me better than anyone, and I think he knows how to harness the opportunity. So in a long-winded answer, that has been my coaching journey.
Wow. And I mean, yeah, that's a lot of money, but it's an investment. And even the one that, maybe didn't work out, it taught you that you needed to at least learn enough about marketing to be dangerous. And man, I just feel like there's not a lot of people, especially our age, that are investing in themselves like that much. But I guarantee you would say that you can credit a lot of your success to all of those things.
Dude, like all of it. I wouldn't be where I am. I would not be where I am. I would go as far as to say I might not be a financial planner still because I might have failed out of my business if it wasn't for
Mm,
these investments in myself. And I really believe that.
mm, wow.
And if you
That
can't invest in yourself monetarily, find mentors. Like that is another thing. I have mentors that I do not pay and they help me. And real quick piece of advice there. People who ask for advice get jobs. People who ask for jobs get advice. So if you're trying to get a new job and work with a mentor, like always go the advice route and people want to help you. That I think that quote just sort of personifies that the people want to help.
dang. I've actually never heard that quote before. Can you say that one more time?
People who ask for advice get jobs. People who ask for jobs get advice. So it's not like a direct correlation to what I'm saying here, but I think the part of like people who ask advice get jobs, it's to say if you go to someone asking for advice, they generally want to help you.
Mm,
They might even say like this guy's ambitious, this girl's ambitious. I want this person working with me. You know, and like that's what happened with me. That's how I became a financial planner. I went to my dad's financial planner for advice on my career because I was going to be a doctor like my father. I decided not to. And through that process, my dad had me reach out to professionals he knew to get advice because he wanted it to come from someone other than him. His advisor was someone that I reached out to for advice, and I ended up working for him and with him. And he's one of my partners now. So
wow.
it's
Wow,
funny how
that's
that
cool.
happens. Funny how
I
that
know,
happens, right?
man. I totally agree. I mean, I've never heard that quote before, but like if I look back without even really knowing it or thinking about it, it's played off or played out in my life as well. To round us out here, we've talked about a lot of different ones of these. Um, family. I know you're engaged. You have a fiance. You've got a massive family, and it seems like y'all have done a lot
Yeah.
of fun stuff together. Just tell me whatever you care to share about like your family and what that means to you. I'd love to hear a little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything starts with Mattia, my fiance. Like, we've been together since high school, literally. And it's one of those things where whatever I'm trying to do, she's always supportive. I know we talked about this a little offline, like with you and your wife, and she's like, dude, do your thing, like go after what you're going after. And Mattia's always been that way too, like just unwavering support, and it's really important because any ambitious idea or vision I have that would sound crazy to the average person in my life that I said it to, like she doesn't bat an eye, man. And when you have that in your household, you're unstoppable, in my opinion. So having her is really important, obviously. And, you know, my parents love them. My sister just had a baby. I'm the godfather. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, man, that's a little bit about the family.
Yeah, yeah, that's super cool. I mean, I think for you as someone who is ambitious and probably does spend a lot of time working and everything, is that I guess looking forward into your future is one day, you know, you're sooner than later you're going to be a husband, maybe you have kids one day. Do you ever think much about like, okay, I want to make sure I have, you know, time to be present with them and stuff like that? How's your thought process from that standpoint?
It's a good question. The way that I've looked at it is I want to set myself up and Mattia, the two of us, I'd like to become so successful before kids are in this world that when they're here, we can devote absolutely the most time possible to them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of intentionality around how I'm building my business. You mentioned my three partners that I have, and I just joined up with them last year. A big part of having them is because I want other voices from the team in my clients' lives because I know one day I'm not going to have unlimited time. I'm going to have a family, and there's going to be days where quote unquote fires come up with clients, for example. If I can't take care of it because I'm at Armando Sallavanti the fourth's baseball game, like I want someone to be there that can and knows my clients, right? And in addition to that, like we have a team. I want someone that sees me on LinkedIn and comes in, and whether they're in a meeting with Mando or Aggie or Michelle or Timmy, those are my three partners, or insert future members of the team, I want them to know no matter who they're talking to, these same philosophies and the same level of service is always brought to them. So I'm thinking about these things with how I
Mm,
build my career because I know that's going to be very impactful on my family in the future.
mm, man, I love the way you're thinking about that. Um, definitely seems like there's a lot of intentionality there. I'll put you on the spot here.
Yeah.
Think about like the average listener here. I keep saying it, ambitious young professionals that want to learn to lead themselves. As you've been talking to a bunch of people, maybe around our age, you may have some friends who you've grown up with who are around your age. Like, what? I mean, do you have just any advice, like from some of the books that you've read behind you, just when it comes to your future, maybe even from like a work standpoint, um, or maybe like a roadblock that you see people run into a lot, whether it's from like a financial standpoint or like their career
Yep.
standpoint? Just, I mean, anything that comes to mind that you may want to share as we're wrapping up
I
here?
got it. I
Yeah.
got it, bro. I 100% have it. I think this is the most common downfall of a lot of people, and it's why they stay at at the perceived average level of where they're from, who they're with, who they're around, what they're around, and why they don't break through that and actually get what they really want. Because I think we all have this really ambitious dream. Like we're in our 20s. I think everybody in their 20s is really optimistic for life. Even if you might not be the most optimistic person, like you just feel like the best is yet to come. There's a lot out in front of us, right? And I see this because like I said, with financial planning, I talk to a lot of people about their visions. When you start to realize some success, especially in your career, the quick lesson is invest in yourself until you have so much money that you need to diversify into other things, because if you become good, that's going to help you succeed more. Now, as you start succeeding more in your career though, you're going to reach a level and you're going to start to feel like an imposter. So imposter syndrome, very much so talked about thing. I think a lot of people hit on this,
Mm-hmm.
but I think this is a twist that a lot of people don't really talk about. You start to feel like an imposter because you're in different circles. When you succeed more, you're around different people. It just naturally happens. At the same time, you feel like, am I supposed to be around these people? Am I supposed to be making this much money? Am I supposed to be getting this recognition, this many followers, whatever that is? And at that point, you feel like an imposter because you're literally becoming a new person. When you are going to succeed, I think the hardest thing about it is some people naturally can't come with you, and you're going to feel like you're not the person that you were because you aren't.
Mm.
You're growing, you're a new person. You have to grasp that point that you are a new person, and you have to change your internal identity, because if you don't, you're going to get pulled back down. Our first time we chatted, man, we talked about the crabs in a bucket. And this
Yep.
is crabs in a bucket in another way. You're almost throwing yourself back into that bucket because you don't believe that you deserve to be the person that you're becoming. But you have to keep honing in on those skills and keep working hard and keep staying the course. Keep that vision or that desired reality front of mind, because that's the only thing that's going to carry you through to that quote unquote next level.
Mm. Yeah, man, fire me up on a Friday afternoon. I'm probably not releasing this on a actually, this will come out on a Friday, but we are recording this on a Friday. Yeah, that's good. I
Yeah.
mean, I think the imposter syndrome is like you are becoming a new person. You have to embrace that. I've never really thought about it that way. Man, wisdom from Mando. This is good. Yeah, everybody, I think a lot of us, I say this a lot, we're asleep at the wheel of our own life, and we need to wake up and learn to lead ourselves if we ever want to see that success that we're hoping for, have the impact we want to have, lead other people. So, with that said, Mondo's got to finish himself strong. So, it's time for you and me.
Wake up and lead, baby.
There we go.